Hi, it's Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us here on Business by Design Online. I'm Katie Sevenance, and I am excited for you to meet my friend, Michelle. I'm going to go ahead and bring her up because Michelle Davis we've been working together. We've known each other maybe 5, 6-ish,
Hi.
7 years, somewhere in there. Yeah. And we've worked together, and I respect Michelle so much in what she accomplishes because those of you who know me know I'm a little scatterbrained. I'm all over the place all the time. And Michelle is like she's organized. She has plans and systems. And when I hear all the stuff that you manage during a day, it is amazing. So Michelle, thank you so much for joining us. Let me get your name up there so everyone can see you. Awesome. So, Michelle, tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you married? Do you have kids? Where do you live? All that fun stuff.
Oh, goodness. So my name is Michelle. I've been married we're going on 26 years. I
Congratulations.
have two, thank you. Hence the reason for the getaway. Hopefully that, like I said, COVID better get out of the way.
Yeah, no kidding. When a woman wants her vacation, it better get out of the way.
Exactly. So 26 years. I have two teenage daughters, a 19-year-old that is going back into college this year for her junior year. And then I have a 17-year-old who is going to be a senior. And of course, that's all looking interesting for this next school year. And let's see, lived here in Washington State since I was 16 and met my husband here and decided to start a business right at the tail end of homeschooling. So I felt like, okay, I have poured my heart into these kids for 4 years and homeschooled. And so now what am I going to do? So it was interesting when you asked me to be a part of this because I thought there are so many parallels with owning a business and homeschooling. It's kind of, well, I just hadn't really thought about it until we started talking, and I thought, holy cow, there are a lot of parallels.
It's nice, and it sets you up for success once you can master one. And anyone can do this.
Yeah.
You may feel. I remember I used to always say, because my daughter's a dancer, my youngest, she's now graduated high school this year, sort of the way that worked. But you know, the hours she puts into dance, I'm like, gosh, if we homeschool, she'd be half the time in school because there's a lot of time. Anyway, we won't even go there. But I was worried about homeschooling. So this month, our focus for the whole month is on back to school, back to basics, back to business. It's kind of like, all right, so much for being COVID, being locked down. What are we doing now to get ourselves back on track? And how can we master it? And I know you've probably heard a lot of people saying that too. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to homeschool. So um, tell us a little bit about you. You said you've homeschooled for 4 years. That was middle school and high school. Is that what you were saying?
Yes, middle school and high school. So probably the hardest years to homeschool. No, actually, I don't, none of it's easy.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Can you imagine the little ones too? And when you want to run a successful business and you're busy and you want to get back to your normal life,
Yes,
but
yes.
I know quite a few friends who are like, you know what, I'm going to put a lot of things on hold because I need to focus on my kids. They're stressed out, just like all the adults are. If you think we are, and the kids don't have that experience to know we'll make it through this.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of confusion and a lot of stress just around we don't know what's happening. So I think that's probably a common thing. But um, so, Michelle, you live in Washington State in Marysville, Washington. What is your favorite fun thing to do? What have you been doing this summer that has been really fun for you guys?
Oh my goodness. I think for us, it's just kind of getting away. So we did actually get to go to a water park and just having that time away from the media, away from online stuff, just taking kind of 4 or 5 days to debrief and
Mhm.
kind of remind ourselves what family is all about. And because we're here, and that's the other thing with homeschooling is it's a homeschooling is kind of a 24/7 job, and I think a lot of schools right now are choosing to go online, and I have to say, online schooling is very different than homeschooling. So, online schooling, you have been given a structure. You have been told what you have to accomplish. Your time is dictated. And I want to say, with homeschooling, it's very different. Homeschooling, you have a lot of freedom, and so one of my first tips for homeschoolers is to just have a lot of fun. And like I said, going to the water park, that's something you can do as a homeschooler after everybody else is in school. You you
Yeah.
can you can take your field trips, you can go to the national parks, you can incorporate so much schooling in a homeschooling day without the box of a public school system. So just remember that's like my first primary tip for everybody is just to make it fun, and that attitude is everything. Like even if you're having to do online school and that wasn't your choice, like they're making the choice for you. Attitude is everything. And I thought this is the same in business. It's just you're choosing every single day when you get up with your kids. Am I going to be mopey? Because they totally feed off of you. And you think about it, just
Mhm.
like a teacher in a classroom, those kids totally feed off of your energy. So, you as at home, if you have maybe some time to get up before your kids, before you start your day, I always told my kids to be ready at the table at 9 o'clock. So, that was kind of our deadline. It was have your breakfast, brush your teeth, it was okay if they were dressed or if they weren't dressed. I didn't care. But be ready to go at 9 o'clock. And that included myself. So
Yeah.
oftentimes that meant getting up a little bit earlier so I could have coffee, Bible time. I actually even have like one of those sensory lights for during the winter
Oh,
so that, oh, I call it my happy light. So I have my happy light and
that's important in Seattle because I mean,
you
yeah, I
need it.
lived there a very long time.
Yeah.
Some mornings you just need that to get yourself up and going.
Totally, totally. So attitude is everything and incorporating as much fun into your schedule as possible. So,
I like one of the things that you said there is so that you give them preparation. They know when to expect you expect them to be ready, when to be downstairs at the table, ready to go. I love that because it's like you've got to treat it just like, this is our scheduled time, but there's so much more flexibility in there once you can get the things accomplished. And I think for a lot of kids, parents too, it's really good. Like I set my first appointment at a certain time every day so that I know I'm ready by that time. Otherwise, I could stay in my pajamas for hours. But
yes,
it helps you get prepared and mentally you're like, okay, I'm going to be ready by 9 o'clock and be at the table and have my breakfast and whatever else. And then you can go on with your day. And I felt that just, you mentioned how your kids feed off of your energy. And, I typically our household is pretty positive, but over the weekend, Sunday, I was just in a mood and oh my gosh, I'm like, why are all the kids so grumpy? It was like, it's weird how it shows up. I'm like, why are they being so there? Everybody's being rotten today. What is it? What is it? And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I was grumpy from the start of the day. So
yeah,
that's a really good reminder. You may not think that your attitude carries across, but everyone can feel it. Everyone kind of gets that vibe off of you. So that's really great advice.
yes, yes. And so I just tried to have a good, and that's not to say you're not going to have bad days. And when you're homeschooling, you can take a break. If you're having a bad day, you can say, you know what? we're all going for a walk. We're all taking the dog for a walk. We're getting outside, we're getting some fresh air. And seriously, a 20-minute break, fresh air, getting a little bit of exercise makes a world of difference. So if you can incorporate fun stuff throughout your day, have a good attitude, it really doesn't matter what you're doing for schooling. It's going to work. It's going to go great. So that's like my number one tip for homeschoolers.
Yeah. So let me ask you, you mentioned there's a difference between online school and homeschooling. And a lot of people are trying to choose, okay, things are so chaotic right now. Do I want to take on homeschooling? Um, I, I'm assuming there's support systems and there's tools so that a parent, if they make that choice, they have a good idea of how to even get started and how to do that. And how really do they differ? And like you said, there's one is you know what you have to do, but do you have time flexibility, or is online school they have to be on there for certain hours? How does that work?
So, as a parent, you get to choose. You get to decide, am I going to do a traditional homeschooling route or am I going to do online schooling? There is actually public school that is online and they call it homeschooling. But the difference is, like I said, the difference is you have to stick to their schedule. You have to stick to their quizzes. You have to stick to their curriculum. You have to stick to their holiday breaks. You have to stick to the teacher's schedule because there are teachers working with your students online. You don't get to pick your curriculum. So there's a lot of if you need that structure, that is okay. If you feel like you don't really know what you're doing and you're not comfortable, that is a totally okay choice. But know that homeschooling is a more flexible choice. So, just by doing some research, there are so many, and I can put it in the comments later, but there are a ton of resources out there to help you decide on curriculum choices. There's different types of curriculum based on the needs of your student. There's actually assessments you can do ahead of time with the curriculum so you can find out, oh, Johnny really isn't in sixth grade math. He really is in fourth grade math. And you can start and back him up and say, okay, we're going to start in fourth grade. We're going to get you caught up. And so many homeschoolers get caught up just in 2 or 3 months' time. Whereas the public system doesn't allow for that. The public system doesn't even allow for you to accelerate. So I had a middle school student, she was a high cap student. The middle school public system didn't have a place for her. So I knew I had to homeschool her. So I knew I had to keep her accelerated so that when she got into the high school level, she would already have courses completed that those other middle schoolers hadn't even been offered. And now she's having college choices and she's got math completed that none of the other high schoolers have completed. So there's freedom in homeschooling that you don't get to have in public schooling, and you get to gear it towards your child. So you know your kid.
Right.
You know their learning style, you know the struggles they have, you know their weaknesses, you know your strengths, and you as a parent can gear that curriculum, you can gear that education. It can be totally catered towards their interests and all of that. Whereas a public online system, a public school system, you don't have those choices.
You know, that's really true because I know I've heard a lot of cases where kids are really smart and they're bored in some classes because they've understood it faster than the majority of kids. And so then when they get bored, they lose interest and then they don't want to be there and they don't study and they don't do their homework. It's not that they don't know what they're talking about. They know the subject. So that's nice to be able to really customize it. So that is a great option to be able to do it that way.
And
How?
you really do homeschooling gets done in about 50% of the time as a public school schedule. So,
Wow.
since like you're a dancer, and I know a lot of people who are gymnasts or they're musicians or even actors and actresses, of course, all that stuff is kind of on hold right now. But especially high school students, instead of being at school 6 or 8 hours for the day, they can actually get their school done in 3 hours, same amount of work.
Right.
Then they have the rest of the afternoon or evening to go work a job or to go explore their interests, to do theater, to do music, to do gymnastics,
Right.
whatever they're wanting to do.
Instead of school for till 3 o'clock in the afternoon and then dance until 11 o'clock in the
Yeah,
evening. So
yeah,
it does definitely give a little more options. Can I ask you another question? What about your schedule? Like, how did you manage? Because you had your kids homeschooled, you also volunteered
yeah,
at school a lot, and then you ran a business.
yeah.
So, and you're a wife and a mom, all of that. What do you have tips for um, maybe how to balance your day a little bit or where you spend your time?
I would say set the expectations ahead of time. So, kind of like I started with be ready at the table at 9 o'clock. It
Yeah.
was, I actually had, I don't have it with me, but I actually had a notebook that kind of had a schedule and it had the listing of subjects that were going to be covered for that week. And I left it to my kids. So when you have older kids, you can set that expectation and you can say, here's what I expect you to complete for the week. You use your time wisely. If I have to come in and manage you, I will, but I shouldn't have to. So
Right.
here's your list, here's your things. And really, you're setting them up for future schooling. You're setting them up for independence. You're setting them up to be super successful even in their own careers, because there's nobody micromanaging us as small business owners. There's nobody telling us what to do. Even in corporate America, there isn't somebody sitting on your shoulder.
And you sure wouldn't want it if it was. So,
No.
yeah.
So I would have a schedule, and I typically, just like with my business, I would typically look at it on a Sunday and I would kind of map it out and say, okay, I expect this chapter of history to be done. I expect this unit of math to be done, or whatever the case may be. But having a plan, you don't have to. There are homeschoolers that don't. But this mama, she to be able to manage it all, I kind of needed a plan. And so I worked off this and I gave it to my kids. And really, it was like a checklist for them. And it was then at the end of the day, they would show me their work. Sometimes I tried to do it where at the end of the week, but that got to be too much. If you have multiple kids and you're trying to check work just like a teacher, trying to collect all that homework. As a parent, I decided I need to do this nightly. So I need to look at it nightly. So, as a parent that's choosing to homeschool, as a parent that is having to be forced to school kids online at home, you you kind of take a step back from your expectations and needs for yourself personally, and you really do make that sacrifice. You really do say on a daily basis, you know what, I'm putting their needs first, and so that's going to happen first. And so then while they were working, then that's when I could go do other things. That's when I could go volunteer, or that's when I had appointments, or that's when I could work on my business. And I kind of would set blocks aside and said, okay, talk to me after 2, or whatever, like a school day, so that there wasn't constant interruption.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. And you've managed that for your kids are doing great, right? You've got one. Is one of them taking a gap year?
So my oldest took a gap year, and she homeschooled for middle school, and she homeschooled for the first 2 years of high school. Then she went right into Running Start. I would love to say that I'm like this amazing homeschool teacher that was able to do that, but really, you're setting them up for success. So you're setting them up a firm foundation so that they can learn, they can study, they can be successful on their own. So my kids have done that. done it themselves. And my oldest is taking a gap year this last year, which it's a good year to have had a gap year.
No kidding. Yeah.
Maybe maybe this year is a good year too, but she's going to go back, and she's chosen a program that is an online program, so that's even
Wow.
better because it's already established. She knows she's going to do well in something like that, so she's going to finish out her bachelor's degree probably with this program. And then my youngest, we homeschooled her from middle school, and she is my social butterfly. So we gave our kids a choice and said, do you want to go back to public school? Do you want to stay home? She chose to go back to public school, and she has been very successful at it. She uses her time wisely. She's the kid that wants to be there from 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. and then wants to go back to the school for the football game
That
or
was me. Oh, yeah.
but she's done like AP and college in the high school, and
Wow.
so they're doing very, very well. And I know so many homeschoolers that I was going to share this little tidbit with you.
Yeah.
Did you know homeschoolers actually have higher scores nationally than traditional public school students?
Wow. It seems like you're really setting them up for success by doing, by as an option. Yeah.
Well, and they get to run with their interests. So you get to combine things. I remember picking a Washington State history that not only was like, it was a writing curriculum, but it also was part science. And then it also included field trips as a family. And so
Mm,
there was a professor here in Washington State who built this curriculum and decided to make it available for families. And so there was ID, and there was printouts, there was exams, there were quizzes, but then also there was the chapter reading, and then there was a list of like 30 things. Out of these 30 things, pick two things you could do as a family.
I
So
love that.
yeah, so there's so many great options out there. It's not a one size fits all.
Well, that's cool. And I think just understanding the resources that are out there, that you're not alone. You mentioned that your daughter's very social. And I have heard that there are a lot of programs, if you choose to homeschool, that you can still get the kids together. It might be a little different right now, but still
Yeah.
get together to do things so that they're getting that social interaction as well, right?
Yeah, you can be a part of a co-op. So there's a ton of co-ops that are available. There's family-run co-ops. There's educators that are no longer in the public system that have decided we need to do this for our community. And so there's co-ops. So if you type in homeschooling co-op on the internet or even in Facebook, you're going to see a ton of groups, local groups to your area that you can join. And that's kind of another tip that I had was find a running buddy, just like with our business, is find some homeschooling running buddies that you can bounce ideas off of. I had a gal that she wasn't homeschooling, but she would come over and walk with me probably 3 days a week, and it was so therapeutic
Yeah.
because she would listen, because of course I'm the principal, I'm the assistant principal, I'm the teacher, I'm the mom, I'm the cook,
And
I'm
the custodian.
totally, and I'm not getting paid.
Yeah.
And she would listen, and she would suggest ideas, and I just thought, wow, without my friend Linda, and I had a sister that homeschooled, and then I joined a co-op, and so we called them aunties, and so there were like 30 aunties that you had just a community and resources. You're not alone. There's so many people out there that are willing and able and ready to help you find those and navigate those choices.
I love that. Oh, that's awesome. And you're happy you chose that route. I'm sure your kids are, even the one who went back to high school, because she had the experience. Now she knows the best. She knows both. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. And those football games are kind of important. So let's hope she gets as normal as possible year this year. It's going to be a challenge, but we can do this together. We can support each other. And there are, we are out here. Reach out to people who've done it before, ask for ideas. We're going to be talking about this subject all month long because we want to support those of you who are in the middle. I personally, one is starting college and the other one is finishing her last year of college. And it's tough. Like, we don't know what to do either because her school's in Arizona and they were going to start in August. Now they're moving it back to 3 weeks online in September and then move in. And then they'll start school in person the end of September. They're going to run through the holidays. Like, they'll go to school the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So she's not going to have time to come home. And I think they don't really want the kids to come home because then things could change. And they're planning on going back to school where, like my other daughter's college in Colorado, they're saying they'll start in August, but after Thanksgiving, then they won't go back to school. They'll do online through January. So it's all different. It's all up in the air. Each state is different. Even though my kids are older, we still don't know. And it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. So everything's so, it's hard to figure it out. I will say that my youngest school in Arizona is known for their online school as well. So I feel like, they probably have a better grip on it than most, but it's also the social aspect. And I know both my kids are looking forward to the social aspect. So we've talked about where it may not be what I experienced, but you'll have your own experience. And those of you who go are going to build your own support system because you're all going through this together. And that's where I think people need to just open up. Don't hold it all inside. Don't act like everything's perfect. There's uncertainty. So
Yes.
let's just band together, show support for each other. If you have children, this is a tough time right now, getting ready for school. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And ask for help. What I'm hearing right now is there are a lot of college students. There's a lot of parapros that aren't getting called back into the school system.
Uh-huh.
There's all the substitutes that are not getting called back into into the school system. And so reach out, ask for help, ask for I'm not strong in math, so I hired a tutor a year or so. So there are ways to get help. And one of the ideas I saw somebody had was there's all these college students that their plans have changed. They're not going away to school. And so now they're available. They have more hours. Maybe they're doing online school. Well, those college students would be happy to tutor and help with the younger ones. So
Yeah.
still be working from home, doing your business, getting things accomplished, but bring in a college student to your house and have them help you manage those little kids for 3 or 4 hours so that you can concentrate and get your work done. And the college student literally could lead them and guide them and
Yeah.
get their schoolwork done. And you actually could then have a really peaceful afternoon and evening together as a family. So it
That's
seems
a great idea.
seems daunting. Things seem daunting, but there's ways to work around. You just get creative.
I love that. Michelle, that's such a great idea because I know my daughter, she was a tutor all through high school for math. And how awesome if she's a nanny right now through the summer. So she's going to nanny a little longer. But if, depending on how things go, she were to stay, that would be something right up her alley to get paid to nanny. And she could be helping them with homework and getting her schoolwork done as well.
Totally.
So, yeah. Oh, great ideas. Michelle, thank you so much for sharing your insights today because this is a topic that, I don't know, my kids were public school, but now that things are so up in the air, it's just nice to know the options and maybe some tools to be able to have the confidence that, okay, put on my big girl pants. I can handle this. So I appreciate your tips for us this morning. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And this Friday, we're going to be talking with a gal named Debbie Hoffman, who is a pro in business at follow-up, which is the key to business. So when we talk about back to business, She is an amazing coach when it comes to follow-up and systems in follow-up. So I hope you will join us on Friday, same time, same station. Michelle, thank you so much. Hope you have a fabulous rest of your week in Seattle with your happy light. You don't need it right now. The sun's been shining, right?
Here right now. I love it, but I need the months of October and May.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you all very much. Have an awesome day, and we will see you.